Welcome back to another travel video with Tom and Jenny. In today's video, we will be traveling to Washington State for another one of Tom's work trips. Our first day was pretty much a travel day. Our first stop after leaving the airport was the Seven Seas Brewery and Tap Room for lunch. To check into the hotel, we stopped at the local Costco. We can never resist looking at the local selections of alcohol, seafood, their meat selection. Each Costco is different and it makes for a fun activity. We also find it interesting to compare our local prices with the places we're visiting. We stopped at the conference center so Tom could set up for his conference. Then we stopped in the town of Poulsbo, Washington, where we did some shopping, we had a drink. Neither of us were hungry because of our late lunch. Stayed at the Fairfield Inn and Suites in Poulsbo, Washington. This was a nice hotel. Free breakfast, very clean. There was a walking path behind the hotel and a Walmart and restaurants within walking distance. Tom's at the work conference today. I'm going on a walk, just hanging out at the hotel. I've caught up on emails, YouTube videos. I've been reading a bunch. I just finished the book that I was reading. It's called Never Never, and it was a Colleen Hoover and Tarryn Fisher novel. 3 stars, but I finished it. Now I'm on to the next read. And then when Tom gets back, we'll probably go out to dinner. Not too much sightseeing, probably for the next couple of days, but we will manage to get in a few things before we head home to Chicago. So here's the area where I'm taking my walk. The hotel is over here, and then like over in here there's a bunch of shopping. But instead of walking in like a parking lot, there's this area back here behind the hotel, which I'm not sure if it's specifically a walking path. I've only seen people out here like walking their dogs. In fact, people come in trucks and then bring their dogs back here. But it's really, really pretty. And then there's these yellow flowers here that to me look just like the Scottish gorse, but actually when I looked it up, it's called broom, which is a similar plant, but not the same thing. Day 2 of the conference, and I'm here at the hotel. I decided not to go with Tom. Well, I kind of decided not to go with Tom yesterday, but then I really decided this morning when I woke up with a horrible headache, which I've had migraines almost my whole life. So I just decided to stay here. Had breakfast. They have free breakfast here at the hotel, so I did that. And I've just been watching all the coverage of the new Pope selection, which they finally decided just a little while ago. And it's an American Pope from Chicago, which is kind of cool. Cubs fan. But enough about that. So I'm just planning on reading for the rest of the day. I started a new book. I'm reading the third Diana Gabaldon Outlander novel. It's called Voyager. I've read it before, but it's my goal to reread the entire series. Her new final last book in the series should be coming out in the next year or so. So my goal is to have them all reread by then. So last night, after Tom came back from the conference around 5:30, he gave me a couple of choices and asked me to pick where I wanted to go for dinner. And I think I couldn't have made like the worst choice. But the reason I picked the restaurant was because it was 40 minutes away, and I thought, oh, well, it'd be great to take a nice scenic drive and see what this area looks like. I've only been to the Pacific Northwest one other time, a long time ago, and I don't remember that much about it. So I thought it'll be a nice, pretty drive. which it was, because the trees look different here, the plants are different. The restaurant was actually in a cool location. It was right along the water, but the food was horrible. I'm not even going to name the restaurant because it could have just been what I picked, but I did not enjoy my food at all. Tom said his was okay. It was a lot of food. That was a nice thing. And then one of the other things that drew me to picking that restaurant was they supposedly had homemade pie. And I was really looking forward to that, but after trying the actual food, I decided there's no way that I'm gonna take a chance on a piece of pie. So unfortunately that didn't work out, but the drive was nice. And so after that, we came back to the hotel and watched TV, and I read some more of my book. And then here we are today. We had a much better dinner on this evening. We went to the Crabtree Kitchen. Tom had the seafood marinara and I had the chili lime shrimp. We both really enjoyed both. And then we had a lemon raspberry tart for dessert. The next day, the conference was over, so we were headed to Seattle to start our sightseeing. We stopped at Sloy's Bakery in Poulsbo to grab some coffee and pastries before heading on to the ferry to make our way to Seattle. We were lucky enough to be able to check into our hotel room early. We stayed at the Astra Hotel in downtown Seattle. The room was small, but had a great view of the Space Needle, and, as you'll see later on, had a great rooftop bar with beautiful views. After dropping our luggage at the hotel, we walked to the Space Needle.
I feel like I would fall.
I think so. I can't do it. We're on top.
On top of where?
Seattle and Space Needle. Yeah, so we're going to walk around and show you what it looks like.
After the Space Needle, we walked to Pikes Place Market. This is a historic public farmers market which was founded in 1907. Walking around we were doing, we were starving. So we stopped at the Fisherman's Restaurant and Bar, which was located right outside the market. Tom had fresh oysters, and I had the Fisherman's shrimp pasta. after lunch, we rode Seattle's Great Wheel. This was really fun and surprisingly not very crowded. We were there on a Friday afternoon in early May. After a long day of walking around Seattle, we had drinks and appetizers at the Altitude Sky Lounge at the top of our hotel. This reminded us both a lot of the Marriott right outside of Heathrow that we stay at. The last day of sightseeing here in Washington State. Our last stop and probably most enjoyable activity of this whole trip was the Mount Rainier Scenic Railway. Before our train ride with plenty of time to spare, so we enjoyed a drink in one of the dining cars. about 2 hours. It takes you through forests, rivers, and if you're lucky, a view of Mount Rainier. On your trip, you will ride in vintage rail cars, pulled behind one of their authentic logging steam locomotives. You can choose from 2 types of tickets, either the coach tickets or the lounge car experience. We chose the lounge car experience and we were very happy with it. Included in the lounge experience, you received free drinks and free snacks, and the customer service was absolutely amazing. One of the perks in being in the lounge car was having access to the platform on the back of the train. About an hour into the train ride, they stop and bring the engine around to pull the train back to the original starting point. This was an amazing thing to see from the observation platform on the back of the train. pointing out Mount Rainier. There was a much better view when we were going in the opposite direction. After the train ride, we enjoyed some ice cream from a little shop across the way, and then it was on to the next hotel for the night. Our hotel for our last night in Seattle was the Seattle Airport Marriott. This reminded us of a Holiday Inn Holidome. If you've ever stayed at one, you'll know what I mean. Our last dinner in Seattle was at the bar in the hotel. We had a couple of appetizers, Tom had a drink, and he watched the Cubs game on his phone. Our flight back to Chicago was super early the next morning. While we weren't able to do a ton of sightseeing on this trip, we did enjoy what we were able to do. We both agreed that our favorite thing was the Mount Rainier Scenic Railway. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more travel adventures and whatever else we get up to. Thanks for watching.